Hi everyone, it's me, Benjamin Crudwig from Benjamin Crudwig Fiber Arts and Design, and this is episode number 26 of the Design Time podcast. This is a podcast that talks about pretty much everything fiber arts, so knitting, crochet, spinning, weaving, sewing, and a whole lot more. I am in a different location today. We are in my main level of our house, and my hair has already gotten messed up since right before I, started fixing my hair before filming. Anyway, so you can find me, Benjamin Crudwig, online on Instagram and on Ravelry, as well as Facebook as Benjamin Crudwig Fiber Arts and Design. So thank you for coming back if you are a returning viewer. And if you are a new viewer, thank you for spending a little bit of time with me on this chilly Saturday morning here in Colorado. I have not recorded for about 3 weeks. It seems like I basically do a podcast every month recently. I have a ton to go over with you today. So I think I haven't had this many things to show you in a really long time, so I'm not sure how I want to go about doing this. However, I think let's start with the finished objects. I am wearing one. So in October and September, Kristen from the Yarngasm podcast and the Volan Vine Yarns, we discussed doing a Victorian make-along. So what we were doing was creating items, so either sewing, crochet, knit, whatever, items that were reminiscent of the Victorian era. So I had this idea to do a waistcoat or a frock coat that was made with hand-woven fabric. So I created a sketch. Sorry for the crinkling. So you can see this is what I was looking for. And it's traditional looking-ish Victorian frock coat, with some shaping here, and then the, what do you call that, a collar that was going to be around here. And this was made in Blue Sky Fibers Extra in the, oh geez, sorry, I'm gonna move this, in the Marsh and Fedora colorways. So Marsh is the chartreuse green that you see, and Fedora is the dark gray. So what I ended up doing, I designed this with my measurements in mind, but what ended up happening is I didn't realize how much fabric this was actually going to take. So I wove the fabric after estimating how much I thought I was going to need, and it turned out that I needed probably about an extra yard to get the length that I wanted. However, I am really, really happy with what I created. So instead of buttons, I decided to do these straps. So I took the Victorian idea and I kind of modernized it, made it a little bit more punk, in my opinion. So the straps really hold this together. The D-rings that I used are kind of small. And then the strap themselves, if you can see, here's a strap. They fit really snugly in the D-rings. And while I could, if I wanted to really secure fit, put this back through the second D-ring, but I don't really need to. You can see that this is the very beginning of my fabric when I was weaving. And this is the wrong side. I had an issue where for some reason my treadling pattern was backwards. So I ended up doing the wrong side of the fabric on the right side. But that being said, this is a reversible coat. So what I did on the other side, if you can see, the seam allowance, I didn't trim and hide the seams because I wanted to create a more punk look. So what I ended up doing is cutting the seam allowances and then fringing them. So you can see just the ends of the yarn. And when you wear it, the only thing about wearing it this way is I haven't put any closures on for this direction. But I really, really like it. I really like it. So it's just a little more punk, a little more edgy. And then I didn't remember to show this to you, but there is a hood. So it can look like, you know, Darth Insidious, is that his name? I don't remember. Oh, I'm a bad Star Wars fan. But yeah, so that's my first finished object. I am really, really happy with this. I plan on making a dress for my wife with some hand-woven fabric. However, I haven't yet, I haven't solidified what I'm going to do for that one. I still need to do a sketch for her. I still need to do another swatch for her. I did one swatch that I really like, but it's a white base fabric. And Rowan is wondering what's going on. It's a white base fabric, and then there are vertical stripes of gold and gray in there. So I'm thinking about doing that one. However, I'm also thinking about doing a gray background fabric with red stripes going through, like every now and again, some red stripes. So I'll do another small swatch of that, and then I'll show them to her, and she'll decide which one she wants. And once she decides that, then I will create a sloper for her. I've gotten all of her measurements down. So I just need to draft a sloper from the very basics. I found, I know this is jumping around, but when I did the sloper for my coat, barring a couple of mistakes, which you can read about on my blog, I did a whole series about this project. So if you want to read from the very beginning, go to my blog, benjamincrudwig.com/blog. And you can see that I did end up sewing my own garment from creating my own pattern pieces. So I didn't buy a pattern anywhere for this coat. I actually created it from my measurements using common tailoring techniques. So yeah, so we'll see. She's going to hopefully, I don't know, like the sloper that I make for her. And then once I get yardage requirements, then I'll start measuring my warp and weaving the fabric. So this time I'm going to get the exact amount of fabric that I need. My loom is a Shack Spittle Company Baby Wolf. And so its weaving width is about 26 inches. And you get about 10% to 20% of shrinkage when you weave. So when you think about it that way, my actual fabric width is about 23 to 24 inches wide. So I have to adjust my pattern pieces to accommodate that. So that generally means that, you know, you cut the body into quarters. So you have front panel, and then 2 back panels. Depends on the silhouette, because the back panel on my coat, if I can, that's all one piece. So it just depends on the silhouette. But we will get to that project when we get to that project. I am going to pause for a little bit of coffee. The cat is going to be bothering me probably this whole time. So the next finished object I have is this oversized beanie. There we go. And this is made out of my handspun. So this, I don't even want to bring it up, but I knit this during the 2016 general election for president in the United States. My podcast is a politics-free zone, so I'm not going to go into it. However, let's just say it wasn't my choice of president, but whatever. I'm going to keep that to myself. So So these are two of my bulky hand spuns that I've created. And the green is from October House Fibers. And this was a tutorial on what's called a bubble crepe yarn. Shoot, I used all of the yarn, so you can't really see. Let's see, this is a good piece here. So if you look here, there's a core, and then there are two thinner pieces of yarn that are wrapping around in opposition with each other. And that creates kind of like a bubble crepe effect. You can see the tutorial on the Shack Spindle blog, and as well as this blue, this gradient blue. This is a cable ply yarn that is from Classy Squid Fiber Company. So that's also a tutorial that's on the Shack Spindle blog. I split, so this was a collaboration with Classy Squid. And what it was one bat was kind of a textured bat. The other bat was a really smooth gradient bat. So I spun both of them. I kept the gradient bat in sequence. So that's why you see the white to this dark blue. And then the textured bat was consistent all the way throughout. And then let's see, how did I do this? I think I split each bat in half, keeping the gradient, and then the other one, it doesn't matter. Did a 2-ply of each, and then you ply them back onto each other again, and then you get a 4-ply that is what's called a cable yarn. There's a much better description on the Shack Spindle blog, so if you want to check that out, I made this hat out of those 2 skeins of yarn. It's extremely warm. It's extremely bulky. I don't normally wear hats this large, but this is the perfect winter hat. I am not going to be cold at all wearing this hat. So there's this one. And then, hello, Rowan. We put up the Christmas decorations yesterday evening, and anytime that we change anything in the house, he gets really agitated and just runs around. And so that's what he's been doing since last night. It's all good. We love him to death, but he's just a little extra crazy. So the next finished object I have, you saw this blocking on the mats last time. This is my free pattern. It's called Powell Kerchief. It is an asymmetrical, it's a kerchief. It's like a tiny shawlette. You could wear it as a shawl, like a shawlette if you wanted to, you know, jeez. And then there's a button and crocheted loops. You could wear it this way. I don't wear it this way. I like to wear it like a kerchief. And if I can get it right here. I just like to bring the ends forward a little bit and then tuck them. It's funny because this is Targhee wool. I believe it's Targhee. Oh no, it's merino and alpaca. This is Powell from Mountain Meadow Wool, and it's merino alpaca blend. Normally it's really, really soft on my skin, but I'm kind of having a sensitivity recently. So things that are normally really, really soft are feeling really itchy around my neck and around my arms. I think it's so dry in Colorado. So it's rough. It's really, really rough. I'm going to check the live feed real quick in case last time I did this, or 2 times ago, my computer wasn't recording my sound. And that wasn't a good feeling. So if you guys are watching live, please feel free to put comments in the down bar, and I'll be able to read them somewhat live. I think there's a few second delay, and I'll be able to answer questions or just chat with you a little bit. I just want to make sure that you can actually hear me. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about this pattern. If you would like, there are free instructions on my blog, and that is again benjamincrudwig.com/blog. But the pattern is also available as a free download on Ravelry. So please feel free to go take a look there. I'm not sure where this is playing. I love how Rowan is just like watching over me right now. He's like, "What's going on, Dad?" It's calming down a little bit. All right, yeah. So again, free pattern download, Powell Kerchief by Benjamin Crudwig. And it is asymmetrical. So this side is more of a quarter circle, and this side is a triangle. And it follows the very similar triangle, what do you call that, formula. So please check it out. All right, so moving right along, the next finished object that I have well, I guess it's technically a pair of finished objects. Fingerless mitts. I have been needing a pair of these for a really long time, especially when my wife and I take walks in the middle of the day. I don't like how cold my hands get, especially like my knuckles area. And so I decided to knit a pair of fingerless mitts. These are knit out of, well, so it's going to be kind of silly. I did a collaboration with Brooklyn Tweed for Shack Spindle Company a little while ago. So what I ended up doing was I had leftover undyed yarn that they had sent for me to swatch, and I decided to dye it up. So this is one of the skeins right here, and I had fun in the dye bath. I didn't do anything super exciting, but you can see there's like some goldenrod in there, some green, some blue, some gray, and a lot of colors that I really, really love. So this is how they knit up. If you can see, there's a little bit of pooling in there, and I don't care. I really like pooling when it is done well and when it's intentional. Like when it clearly looks weird, I don't like it. So I don't know. I think that the variegation is good enough here that it's not a big deal to me at all. But they were really warm. This is the 100% Targhee wool. Again, this is Arbor from Brooklyn Tweed, but I dyed it myself. So yeah, these are quite nice. They've been very warm when I need them, especially when driving. It's nice that, we don't have a steering wheel cover, so it's pretty chilly, and I don't enjoy feeling cold. I knit those in Magic Loop with my Knitter's Pride Royales. I did a review of these on the last podcast. I love these needles. These have now become my go-to needles. I have their Knitter's Pride Carbons, which I still love, and those were my go-to needles. But there's something about these, the wood is lacquered, I think. It's finished. It's a finished wood, so it's a little smooth, but still grippy. but it's not as grippy as the carbon shaft on carbons. The tips are pretty similar. I do think that the carbons are a little bit sharper, a little pointier, but the tips on the Royales are really nice. The circular set comes with the new colored cords, which I love. I always have an issue finding the right size cord. And with the black cords from the Knitter's Pride carbons, I have to like unwrap each one just to double check, like, is this the right size that I need? So the new cords are color coded and very, very easy to pick out the right length that I need. So since working from home, I have a lot more time, and I don't want to call it a free time because a lot of what I've been doing has been article work for a few people, but I still have more time than I used to when I had to commute back and forth. And I didn't think that half an hour each way amounted to much, but it does. And I'm also only working part-time currently, so that also adds more time to my day. So I have a lot more knitting time, which I'm really excited about. I'm going to move this a little bit. I don't know which one to start with. We'll just go in order. So the first work in progress that I have is something that I've been waiting to make for a while. And I hadn't been feeling inspired. I'm still on the fence about it. But this is going to be a knit version of the Tectonic Cowl. So the Tectonic Cowl is one of my most popular crochet patterns that I created a few years ago. And it's a long, it's kind of like a scarf and a cowl and a shawl. There's 3 different sizes that you can crochet it with, or crochet. You can crochet 3 different sizes. That was really ridiculous. And so it can be as simple as a small cowl all the way up to a pretty decent sized shawl. It's worked in 6 to 8 different triangles, and you work on the bias, changing the width of the stripes, or the height of the stripes. I love that pattern. So I've always wanted to create a knit version. I did a crochet and a knit version of the hat, but with the larger scale piece, when I was just doing stockinette, the floats got really long, and then there's a lot more of them when you have a larger piece of fabric. And I figured that people wouldn't want to weave in so many ends. So I molded around in my head for a while, and I finally settled on the fact that I should do a double knit pattern. So I am double knitting the Tectonic Cowl. So you can see on here, the golden color is on the bottom, and then on the other side, the blue color is on the bottom. So it's truly reversible, which is great. This does mean that you use twice as much yarn as you normally would for the length of fabric. However, 2 things happen. You don't have any ends to weave in, because when you're working with one color on the front side, you're working with the other color on the back side. So you don't have to weave in those ends. 2, it creates a double thick fabric. So it's going to be warmer and more squishy. And I think that's awesome. And I have enough yarn to do this, so I might as well. I'm using Anzulu Luxury Fibers. And I have apparently... Oh, they're there. I'm like, I thought I put the ball bands in here. This is one of their new yarns from last year. It's called Luster. It's a 50% superwash merino, 50% Tussa silk. And let's see. You can see this color is called Toffee. And I forgot what the other color is named. Nimbus. So Nimbus. This is one of my favorite colors that they create. And it's just a really lovely, it's kind of like a sky blue, but a bit more pale than a sky blue, almost a robin's egg blue. But I'm really, really happy. I think I need to continue working on this because it's been languishing for a couple of weeks. But it's, it's double knit, so it's taking me longer than I prefer my projects to take me. That's okay. I'll continue working on this. Again, my Knitter's Pride Royales. This is a US size 3, which is a 3.25 millimeter. But yeah, I'm really loving this project. I would like to get moving on it a little bit more. So maybe that'll go to the top of my work in progress list. So the next work in progress, you might have seen this last time, and I've gotten a little bit further on it. So this is what I'm calling like my fox shawl, because it has those tones in the top, this rusty color, and then this gradient here. This yarn is from Woolly Wonka Fibers. I believe this is her Ceridwen sock base. And I've completely forgotten the colors. I don't know where the ball bands went, but that happens. The gray is part of a gray gradient set of mini skeins. And it started with the light gray here. And I've gotten into the next gray, which is this center gray here. And then there's a medium gray and then a darker gray. So that's what's going on in the center panel. And then the outer panel will just continue staying this rust orange. What I am working on, if you can see, is I've moved. So this is a traditional triangular shawl where you have your increase here and your increase here. However, for the second section, I have moved those increases to where the color change happens. So what I'm hoping for is that this will, I don't know, it'll stay flat, like it should based on the math, but I think it will look kind of like a branching tree when I'm done. Here's hoping. Once it's blocked and off the needles, I think it will look like that. We shall soon see. Those I'm knitting on my Chalgoos. I do like Chalgoos, especially the cord is really nice. It's not very kinky, but it's very strong. And then the tips are pretty sharp. They are slick, since they're all metal. So sometimes the yarn likes to slip. But working on these larger projects with these, it's nice to let the loops slip around on them a little bit. So that is my fox shawl. And then what I need to talk about is what's in here. But first, let's talk about what's on here. This is a new project bag that I made. I have started designing fabric. So if you go over to spoonflower.com, I believe /BC Crudwig, or if you just search BC Crudwig Spoonflower, you'll find my design studio, I guess is what they call it. And I have released my first collection of fabric, and it's botanical inspired or nature inspired prints. So this side is showing 4 of my black and white branch fabrics. So these are kind of traditional filigree style fabrics. And then this side is colorful fabric. And you can see that they look a little organic, but they also aren't quite, I don't know how to describe it. They're not overtly, like this is a blank. So this is a close-up of a leaf that I took. It's a fall colored leaf and then tiled it differently. This one is the sideways bark, of a palm tree. Then this one here is a large green leaf from a greenhouse that I did some interesting mirroring with. And then this one is an underwater shot of bubbles. And what's interesting, so these are all 8-inch swatches that I got. I will probably be getting a lot more of this fabric right here to make Ariana a dress out of. And then this fabric right here is a much larger print, but it only covers 8 inches square of that print. So if you want to see the full print, please go to my Spoonflower Design Studio. Feel free to purchase the fabric, and so project bags, whatever out of it. It's really, I wanted to put it out into the world as I start designing more clothing. I really love starting from the bare textile. That's why I weave my own fabric, is that I like to start from the bare textile. So having the option to design my own fabric and get it printed just makes it all the more, like, I feel all the more connected to it now. So I'm really, really excited about the opportunities that this is going to offer me of designing my own fabric. I will be doing some hand sketched designs, I believe. I have been drawn to doing some more artistic work for fabric, and I think that'll be really fun to see put into action. So I'll let you know next time that I put up more collections. What I do need to do is each time I create a collection, I have to order a sampler, which is totally fine because then I can make something like this. You know, this is a sweater-sized project bag. I was really tired when I made this, so I accidentally did the box pleat wrong. So now it's just a cornerless bag, which, whatever, I don't care, it's fine. But I'm in love with this fabric, and this is their Kona cotton, which is super nice. I love how it feels. It's pretty soft, actually, which I was shocked by. I might get some shirting material, either out of this or maybe out of this one, and create my own dress shirt. I don't wear a lot of dress shirts anymore since I work from home, but I feel the need to maybe do that. If they have jersey, I might get jersey and make some t-shirts. I don't know. All right, so what's in the bag? I am making headway on my hand-spun sweater project. Oh my gosh, there is yarn everywhere. Huh. So I started this earlier this year, and it is my hand-spun cardigan. I tried it on when I was working on it, and it seemed to be fitting. And I tried it on again last night, and it seems a little short. So I'm really hoping that this blocks out long. If not, I'm going to be very upset. So what I've done is I have finished the hem and the button band. I've done all of that. And then I have been working on the sleeve. So what I've done, I don't remember if I've said this on the podcast before, but this is a raglan style cardigan that I did stripes in. So I alternated skeins every two rows. And then when I got to the sleeve, I'm knitting with the yarn doubled. So you can see I have 2 strands of the yarn. So it's creating more of a bulky weight yarn. These are my Addy clicks, and I'm using a US size 10 or a 6mm needle. And the yarn that I'm currently using for the sleeves is Spunky Eclectic fiber that I spun. And I believe this is the Squash Blossom colorway, which I am in love with. This was part of her club last year. All of the yarns that I'm using are part of her club from 2015. there's a lot of autumnal tones in this skein, which you can see the way that they're kind of pooling, which I am really loving and intrigued by. So even with the yarn doubled, I think I must have split this mirrored so that it's the same when you go through the skein. And then now I'm holding it doubled and the colors are lining up again. So like these golden colors are lining up, this dark black color is lining up, this orangey tone is lining up. I don't know how that happened, but I am thrilled that it is happening. I didn't do any decreases on the sleeve. This is just kind of a cozy around the house cardigan. And I am currently on the cuff. I'm doing a 2x2 ribbing. And I'm hoping to get at least this sleeve done. Maybe I'll finish this sleeve today. And then I need to cast on the other sleeve over here, which will be in this colorway. And I have forgotten what this one is named. I think this one, I don't remember what this one is called. Kismet? I think this one's Kismet because I used Hungry and Caribou and Kismet. So I actually had to start Kismet down in the bottom here. And I thought it was the one that was closest to Hungry. But I'm really excited to finish this. I will finish it really like cleanly because I also really like the wrong side. So I want to be able to wear this either direction. I haven't decided on closures. I did not put buttonholes in the button band. So either I'm going to have to insert those in afterwards by actually sewing in buttonholes, or I'm going to have to figure out a different way to do a closure on this. So let me try it on for you. So it does feel like a good couple inches short in the back at least. So I'm hoping that when it blocks a little long and that it won't feel so short. And then the front, you know, I could just pin it, or maybe I'll sew it up closed, which would be fine. I wouldn't care if I did that. And then I'm almost done with the sleeve. I'm going to do extra ribbing. Why does this feel different today than it did last night? I don't know. Sweaters are hard. So yeah, the ribbing, I'm going to do a long cuff, so that makes sense. But yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it. And I would like to finish it. It's all different wools. So I'm kind of hoping that it doesn't get weird in the blocking process. But I don't know. If it does, it was a fun experiment. And, you know, it's just a few hours of work put into it. All right, let me put that away. So the next portion of this is, they're not really finished objects because they're not knit or crocheted. I've been experimenting with dyeing recently. So I don't have immediate plans of becoming a yarn dyer, even though that's something that I have thought about. I am not entirely sure that I'm going to do it yet. So that being said, I really do love dyeing yarn, but I also love dyeing fiber. So I just don't know. But let me start with, I was talking to you earlier that I had dyed that skein, this skein of arbor that I had left over. Well, I had another skein of undyed arbor. So I dyed it like this. So this is kind of a speckled yarn. What I did is I wound the yarn into a tight ball on my ball winder. And then what I did was poured in the dye. And what it does is it breaks the color a little bit, although I did some of this green as well. So I think I just had a nice mixture of color. The outside of the ball gets really saturated. So that's where you get these nice dark colors of green and blue. And then as you get further into the ball, it gets paler or even completely undyed. So a lot of the ball actually stayed white, but you can see that it's nicely speckled all the way through. And I don't know what I'm going to make with this yet. Probably a hat, you know, because I only have the one skein. And I don't think that it matches closely enough, even though I use some of the same dyes with the other skein to combine them into a larger project. It just doesn't make sense. So yeah, I'll probably let it hang out for a little while and then make a hat with it. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but we'll find out next time, maybe. You know, I never checked that I was actually making sounds. Matches. I am. Good. So the other skein that I dyed, I had from my Powell kerchief. I had a little bit of this natural tone left. And again, this is 85% merino, 15% alpaca. And I created this lovely dyed, just a light blue, a very simple light blue. And I did the same thing with this one as I did with that other skein of Arbor, where I wound it into a ball, but I didn't wind it as tightly. So that allows the dye to penetrate a little bit deeper into that ball. So you can see that I have a nice like dark sky blue here, and then it goes into a really light, even white in some sections. So this is going to be, it looks like the sky. It looks like Colorado sky. So I might make another hat out of this. I'm kind of on a hat kick recently. I love hats. I really, really love hats. So, and it's hat season. So I might cast this one on next, as opposed to the other skein of Arbor. I love the color. I might use the same green. And then it's kind of like a little home on the range thing. I don't know. I just like it. So that'll probably be next to cast on. But I really love this color of blue. I've been dyeing fiber as well. I had some undyed fleece that I had cleaned a couple of months ago. It was sitting in the bathtub for a really long time in my studio. So I have a bathroom in my studio that I can use, but I also have like water access there. So if I want to dye some stuff down there, that's okay. Or if I want to wash large fleeces, I can just do it in the bathtub really easily. So I had the clean fleece just sitting in the bathtub without water. It was dry. It was just sitting in there, because where else do you store a fleece that you don't really have a place for yet? So I dyed some of it in a lot of like the primary colors and some gray and some purple, and created some fun colors as bases to start blending. And then I started blending what I'm calling like Monet bats, because they are so like impressionistic. I started with a white base, and then I've been just putting some different colors of fiber in there. And what that's doing is just creating, I pass it through once and I pass it through a second time. And the second time, it just diffuses all of those colors a little bit more. I believe this is a CVM cross of some sort. So that's California Variegated Mutant. And I left some of the lanolin in when I washed it, because I don't know, it just keeps a really nice, luscious quality to the wool. And it feels really good after I spin for a while. Like it moisturizes my hands. So I made a couple of these You'll see this one is a little more pale than this one. So I added just a hint more color with this one. But they're not like super different. The way that the fleece was shorn, there are some second cuts in there, but I decided to leave them in because this will create like a nice tweed yarn, a nice heathered tweed yarn. So I'm really okay with that. If I was looking for a really perfect worsted yarn, A, I wouldn't be carding it, I'd be combing it. And B, I'm just not a worsted spinner. I'm a woolen spinner. That's what I like. It keeps things more like lofty and warm. I know Jenny and Devin from the Handmade and Woolen podcast. They are both spinners now, so welcome to the dark side. And I don't even know if they watch, but if you're watching, hi. And Jenny was just recently talking about woolen spinning and like what the differences are. So I think I might actually just take a second now. Let me get cozy. This is time. Let's see. So there's design time. This is like teaching time in the episode. So there are two main styles of spinning. You have worsted and you have woolen spinning. What distinguishes the two of them is how the fiber is prepped more than how it is spun. So worsted spinning is prepped on what's called combs or hackles. And what that is, they look like torture devices a little bit, but they look like combs that maybe you would use on a large animal with very thick fur, I suppose. To get like the undercoat out potentially. And you clamp one to a table and you hold the other one in your hand. And then you put your fleece or your locks or whatever your fiber is on the combs, on the comb that's sitting stationary on the table, like clamped to the table. And then you swing the other one down through the tips of the fiber. And what comes off in that initial pass, you keep on that comb. What's left on the comb that's on the table, that's clamped to the table, are usually the shorter pieces that are not as strong. There might have been a break in the fiber, so those fibers broke when you were combing it. It could be second cuts just from the shearing process, or it could just be naturally short parts of the fur that were caught in there. Those generally get pulled off of that comb and put into a second cuts pile, right? So then you have this other amount of fiber and you take that off of the comb, put it back on the stationary comb, and you repeat the process again. After you do that, what you're left with are only the strongest and the longest fibers of that group. And then you can pull it through a diz, which is like kind of looks like a button with a hole in it. And that creates combed top. So that means all the fibers are attenuated or lined up, straightened out in the same direction. And they are the best fibers, hence top. Then you can do that again with the second cuts, but it's going to be of an inferior quality as the stuff that you just made. You then spin that generally with a short forward draw with no twist between your fingers. So there's what's called the drafting triangle. And in worsted spinning, you don't want any twist to go in between your finger and where the fiber is coming off of your roving, if it's combed top, or if it's worsted, it's combed top. True worsted. So that means that you're getting a very compact yarn. There's not a lot of air in it. And then when you ply it, either in a 2-ply or a 3-ply, you're also going to get a more defined yarn. So you're not getting as many of those fibers like sticking out of the ply or the singles. And it's then, therefore, a more defined yarn. Great for cabling, great for textured knits. And that's wonderful. On the flip side, if you're looking at woolen spun yarn, you are generally in a roving or a bat preparation. And what that means is that you have carded the fibers. So instead of combing where you're using comb or a hackle, you're using what's called a carder. You can use hand carders, you can use a drum carder. Commercial preps use very large industrial sized carders, and it takes the fiber from the raw form and it combs it out, but it doesn't necessarily line everything up. Sometimes the fibers are still jumbled. What this does is that traps a lot of air. And when you're spinning in a true woolen style, you're either spinning long draw or you're spinning in a short forward draw that is allowing twists to go between your finger and the drafting triangle. And that's trapping air into that yarn. So when you go to ply it, you get a loftier, more airy yarn. Not necessarily great for cables or highly textured knits. However, it is a very warm yarn. It's going to be a warmer yarn than a worsted spun yarn because you have that air inside to insulate it. That being said, you can use one preparation with another spinning style. So you could use combed top and do it long draw and trap some air in that, but it's not going to be as lofty as a carded preparation. And then looking on the other side, you can take a bat or a roll log or something that's been carded, roving that's been pulled off of a bat or from a drum carder that has a lot of jumbled up fibers in it. You could take that and spin it with a worsted style draft, so there's no twist between your fingers. So you're compressing those fibers, but it's not going to be as tightly spun as a worsted prepped yarn. So there's lots of differences in between how to spin. So there's really a lot of people get stuck into a camp of woolen is the right way to spin or worsted is the right way to spin. It depends on what you're looking for. So if you want a really warm yarn, you should probably spin it woolen style. If you want something really lofty and really fluffy. If you want something that's going to really pop with cables or want a more durable yarn, like with a sock or mittens, you're going to want a higher twist and something that can hold that structure. And so that's going to be your worsted style yarn. So woolen, yeah, is not as durable, but it's warmer. And then on the flip side, worsted is not as warm, but it's more durable. So it's a trade-off. You do have a trade-off of what you can create with your yarns. But I digress. That's your spinning lesson for the week. So I'm making these. If you would like to buy these, I mean, it's weird because I haven't sold anything online for a really, really long time. But if this is something that interests you, just let me know in the comments below. Because I am tempted to share these with the world. I have a lot of fleece, so it might be time for me to start giving it good homes. So that's the dyeing and the fiber prep. And I think what I'm going to talk about next is what's going to go on my needles next. So I'm thinking about doing a tectonic convertible cowl crochet along, which when I did the Knitters Pay It Forward event right after the election, a lot of people bought that pattern, but it's also my most popular pattern from Ravelry. So I think that for anybody who's already purchased the pattern, or if you want to purchase the pattern, what I'll do is, so the promotion is not up yet, but what I'll do is I'll put the promotion up right after I get off of this video. I'll offer the Tectonic cowl at 50% off, and it'll be Tectonic CAL, so TECTONIC CAL. Tectonic will be in lowercase letters, and then CAL will be in uppercase letters for the coupon code. So don't let me forget. I'm going to do that right after I finish recording. So I am going to make a winter/Christmas themed cowl for myself. And these are two of my handspun yarns. This one is Spunky Eclectic from her club last year that I spun during Spinzilla last year. And then this is my kelp yarn that I spun for Spin to Knit magazine. And I had some left over, so I made a 3-ply out of it. I had singles left over, so I made a 3-ply out of it. If I don't have enough of both of these, that'll be a major bummer. But I have more of this fiber that if I need to make more, I can. I do not have more of this fiber. So I might have to think of something real quick if I run out of this one. So yeah, I think it would be fun to have it start now and then go until, or at least maybe, yeah, I'll start it this weekend and then it can go all the way to like January 31st or even February. I don't know. It's going to be an informal crochet along. So I don't want to put a lot of pressure on anybody or myself, but it'll be on Instagram. So tag your post with Tectonic Cal, C-A-L, not K-A-L. And you can either knit the cowl or the 2 hats. And maybe by the time that it's over or in the middle of it, I'll have the knit pattern finished for it. So I'm about to wrap up, but I do have an exciting announcement to tell you. I am teaching at Interweave Yarn Fest on March 30th, 2017. I am teaching 2 weaving courses that day. So please, if you're in the Colorado area or you will be going to Interweave Yarn Fest anyway, sorry, getting parched. If you would like to go to my classes, signups are happening now. I believe early bird signups are already underway, and I don't know what the deadline is to sign up, but I do have 2 courses that I'm teaching, a 6-hour course and then a 3-hour course. So the 3-hour course is in the evening on that Thursday, and it is creative embroidery techniques as well as joining techniques on the Zoom loom. So if you are a follower of the Woolery, you might have seen this already. I'm not sure. But I designed this little coaster for the fall, and it's 2 squares. And then 1 square is an embroidered motif. The other square is plain. And this is all using scrap yarn. So this is a really great stash busting project. I used a whip stitch to sew these together. You will learn in this course whip stitching, crocheting, so a few different crochet methods to sew them together. Mattress stitch will be another way that you can join Zoom loom squares together. And what we're going to be talking about is how you can create larger pieces from 4-inch squares. So we will be learning how to do a few different embroidery techniques. Basically, it's just going to be a really fun, low-key class that we can experiment and discuss. So you don't need to have any experience weaving on the Zoom loom. We're going to take the first hour, probably, of the 3-hour class to learn how to weave on the Zoom loom because we actually will use the loom as an embroidery hoop. So we need to have a square on the loom. And then I will go over a few examples and samples of how to do certain embroidery stitches. I was taught how to embroider at a pretty young age, so that was maybe my first fiber art, but I didn't stick with it for that long. But I haven't lost a lot of that information, which is really good feeling. So I'm really excited to try out a few techniques with you all. And what we might do, since it's going to be springtime, I might do some different motifs. The leaf is definitely a fall autumnal motif. So I'll bring in some ideas for a more springtime motif. Yeah, so March 30th. I think that one is at 6 o'clock, from 6 until 9 p.m. And then the one that I'm teaching during the day is Design on the Fly. So I was supposed to teach a class out in North Carolina this fall, and that fell through because I didn't have enough people signed up for the course. And it was going to be a 3-day class on designing and how to be a designer, how to be a better designer. And so I pitched it to Interweave Yarn Fest, and they said yes. However, it's going to be a 6-hour course instead of a 3-day course. So we're getting an awesome crash course on designing for this class. This scarf is something that I created using my method of designing on the fly. So if any of you watch Project Runway, which is currently going on, you will feel familiar with that in my class. So what's going to happen is that you're going to get a brown bag of mysterious yarn, a mysterious brown bag of yarn that you do not know what's inside, what the contents are inside the bag. And with what I teach you, you will be able to create anything from that yarn. So my goal for this class is, it's a stash busting class. So if you do decide to sign up, also feel free to bring some yarn from your stash. I'm not going to require you to use the mystery yarn. However, I think that will be more fun for you in the long run. My goal is to push you a little bit out of your comfort zone with this class. And you design better when you are pushed out of your comfort zone. And that's because you start stripping away the self-imposed requirements of like, this has to be perfect or this has to be blank. When you don't know what you're going to make right away, there's a freedom that comes with it. So what I'll do is, before the course even starts, I will get a list from Interweave of who's coming to my class. And what I'll do is I will create a Facebook group as well as an email list. That way we can communicate. And I'll do a questionnaire of what kinds of things you like, you know, colors, textures, whatever. And I will try to build those bags for people. That way it's not, you know, like you're not disappointed. Like if you hate pink and I accidentally give you pink yarn, I don't want that experience. I want you to really enjoy the experience. I don't want to push you too far out of your comfort zone that you don't get anything out of the class, but just enough that you have a fun time. So it's a 6-hour course, and what we're going to do is learn some basics of design. So composition, color, texture, how color works, and then we're going to start our projects. We probably won't have enough time to finish the projects, but by the time that you are out of that class, you are going to be a much more confident designer and a much more free designer. So I'm really, really excited to teach this class. Please come join me on March 30th. The descriptions for the classes are at interweaveyarnfest.com, and you can find my classes under weaving. And I look forward to seeing you guys there if you come. I'll probably take the lunch slightly alone so I can regroup and just mentally prepare for the next class. But I might stick around after my last class to mingle and talk to people. So please say hi if you are a podcast watcher and also are going to Interweave Yarn Fest. And I will see the other instructors there. It's a great, like the other instructors who are going are fantastic people. I've met a few of them in person. I know a lot of them from online. Some people are locals, I believe. Like I just live an hour away from Loveland, so it's going to be really easy for me to wake up in the morning, drive up, and then drive down in the evening. So I really hope that you'll come. Please take my class, and I will see you guys next time. It may be close to Christmas. If I don't podcast before Christmas, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Solstice, and all of the other holidays that I'm missing. And I will either see you soon or see you in January. Thanks for watching. Bye.